In this week's episode of JoJo Part 5, episode 22, we were introduced to our brand new opening, Traitor's Requiem. I didn't do this for Fighting Gold, so I might as well give my interpretation on this opening here. This is going to have a lot of spoilers from volumes ahead of this episode that we're in, so if you aren't a fan of spoilers, then I suggest that you'd probably want to click off and potentially come back when it's all over. The first couple of opening shots takes us back to our last page of part 5 when Giorno is being positioned in being the new boss and is doing boss-like things like getting his hand kissed by people that want stuff from him. And you've seen the movies, you know that's exactly what's happening here, even if they do respect him. Next, we got a shot of the island of San Giorgio Maggiore where the events of the mystery of King Crimson had taken place. Now, I thought this could potentially be the boss in his room, but with the outside having the same scenery, I'm thinking that this is more based around the last page. Now, having this be Giorno already, I feel like this would make a lot of sense for the future because I think in the future of the part when it ends basically, that we're going to see a Gold Experience Requiem opening or a mix of that with a King Crimson type deal. Like we'll skip over La Squadra or something like that, and in the end of it all, when we end the opening, we'll actually begin with this shot here because it's resetting back to 0. So when we end, it'll be this shot as it's ending. And that would be really cool because in the beginning, if you actually interpret this as Diavolo, when it resets and actually changes to Giorno, that would be really cool because it's all changed up and all that type of stuff. But yeah, also, I think that this could be a Godfather 2 reference. Don't hold me on that, but that's just me seeing that. Next, we get a couple of fast shots of all the members of La Squadra that have been taken out, the fights that they were in, and a shot of Polpo because this is a line of minor antagonists to our group. Next, we have Bruno being unzipped to see this red-bodied and green-haired Bruno going up the elevator, following up with his reaction to Diavolo's plans for Trish and the action of taking her away and leaving her only with a hand. Now, he actually kind of looks like a watermelon. Now, because of the shot that had followed up after Bruno was unzipped, I'm interpreting this as Bruno removing his composed demeanor and instead showing his extremely passionate colors to us and the boss since he was filled with an extreme hate towards the boss for what he had done. Plus, everything that the boss was doing was everything that Bruno is against, so you can see why Bruno would have a reason to be this mad. And then we finish it off with the outer shots where Bruno is. Next, we have a shot of everyone here walking, but you notice that Fugo doesn't, this referencing our recent separation from Fugo, and you can actually see Narashi take a little stutter step right there because of how reluctant he was on going. Now we have a bunch of shots of each member left. It begins with Bruno instead of having him at the end of like how Fighting Gold did. Bruno poses with sticky fingers like how he posed with himself in Bruno's childhood. He does a 360 and moves left. Keep track of the moving left because usually those that move left follow Bruno without question. Now by starting off with Bruno, it leads me to believe that the 360 to the left movement could either be him leading the group in an entirely new direction of his light, or it's him getting a second chance at life because of what Giorno had done. Giorno gets a shot with his Gold Experience, referencing his pose from part 3 of the Babyface arc, and then moves left into the same direction as Bruno. We get Abbacchio's partner, but it's actually Moody Blues. He's shot, then Abbacchio comes out from behind him. This is potential symbolism in Abbacchio's constant dwelling on his partner, or just guilt in general, or the feels like the sky could come down on us at any minute chapter. We see a shot that could potentially confirm both of these things to be true here, but that's for later into the video. It's also interesting that Moody Blues isn't doing anything here like how the stands are doing, not doing any barrage or anything like that, but just instead acting as Abbacchio's partner, so I think that supports my dwelling claim potentially. And the pose that we get here from Abbacchio is actually a reference to Moody Blues Retaliates Part 1. The next shot is Narancia, and I believe that this is a reference to our Little Feet fight, specifically when Narancia had got the idea to make the flames bigger in the area. Now, Narancia moves to the right separate from the group, and I don't know that if that's because the shot itself here has to move to the right because he's pointing to the right, and it would make a lot of sense to go there. And it would actually just be completely odd if he's pointing right, moves to the left, and that would just be really iffy on King. Or it could be that he's unsure about his decision on moving with the group, so that's why he doesn't directly follow him. And this actually ends with Narancia recalling Aerosmith in that iconic big arm airplane pose. The shot here with Mista looks like the one where he had shot Sale through the window, but it could be a different time when Mista was shooting, but I don't think so. Trish starts boxing out with Spice Girl, and since it transitions into the anime recreation from the art in part 5 of Notorious B.I.G., I'll say the entire shot is a reference to her in that arc. And actually, this has a little blink if you miss it type moment, because Spice Girl originally begins with how Trish usually sits, or well, she also sits like that when it happens inside of the Notorious B.I.G. arc. So that's something to keep an eye on. That little pose right there, that's a little reference. A thing to notice here also is the shot zooming into her eye and transitioning into the art of the group into the sky because of what happens right after. We have a shot of Doppio using Epitaph, and then we see Risotto in his hair. Now, this is referencing the Metallica versus King Crimson fight, and the confusion that we see Doppio show here is probably going about the whole split personality problem that he faces constantly. He gets a call from the boss, and then some of My Name is Doppio Part 1 is reenacted here. You can see Doppio's reaction to getting hit, and that's most likely a reference to when the taxi driver was giving him a hard time. So then it zooms into this distraught Doppio, but I think that they wanted to make Doppio the focus here, and it could be him in his own head, because Diavolo actually takes over after when this happens. You also have the same effect of the background that had happened when Doppio was in pain, that whole purplish effect, or that's just more so because the manga is colored, but that wavy, eerie type of thing. So this is probably what it looks like when Doppio isn't in charge anymore and he's just in his own head. Then, just like Trish, we get a transition through Doppio's eye. Next, we get a shot of some of the environment of Sardinia, where volume 12 and 13 take place, focusing more so on volume 13 because the shot is doing exactly what the name says. Feels like the sky could come down at us at any moment, and that's what the shot does by flipping the way that it did. And I just realized, I said minute earlier, fucking fuck me, someone's gonna comment about that. Comparing Trish's eye transition to Doppio's, Trish found herself in a better, stronger position and surrounded with her group, filled with love and all of that. When it's Doppio, it's the Sardinia being flipped, which is a potential reference to Doppio's history with his life being completely flipped over in his hometown. Potentially. Now, bring back my Abbacchio point from earlier, the shot here is potentially not only for Doppio, but Abbacchio, because the turn itself looks like a reference to when Abbacchio was found dead. Also, the shot could be for the group too, because this is the first death of a main member of our group. Everyone's world has been flipped upside down, in quotes, see what I'm doing there, because of this event. I'm believing in so much for this shot because the volume being named after a single chapter shows huge significance, and this shot being on that whole ordeal means a lot to the grand scheme of part 5 too, so I think that's how it's going on. Also, side note, I think that this could be a potential Epitaph reference in the grander scheme of things, because we go from Sardinia into the final fight here, and that's a huge jump. It also could just be that they wanted to prioritize the ending part, but I'm not one to say. The blood droplets most likely referencing Diavolo emerges part 2 when the group was trying to figure out who Diavolo was hiding in. The background leads me to believe that it was that more than Polnareff being in the Colosseum to where he was dropping the blood onto his own leg. It also transitions into the fight with Diavolo and Giorno, so it makes a lot more sense that it's Diavolo emerges here. Diavolo and Giorno fight and the arrow flies across the screen. Since this is the fight for the arrow, I'm guessing that the clouds potentially symbolize all of the souls that were everywhere because of Silver Chariot, or Chariot Requiem's ability, including the souls of our group. Giorno stabs himself with the arrow in the turtle, cards, opening is over. Now, in this card here with the clouds with the lines involved, I was thinking that this is actually, this set of clouds could be potentially the clouds that we had seen Narancia, Bruno, and Abbacchio inside of in Gold Experience Requiem Part 4, but I'm not really sure. I just think that these could just be clouds by itself, but at the same time, who really just puts clouds anywhere? That doesn't really seem like a thing that a JoJo opening would do. But, you know, it's to each anybody's interpretation their own, or whatever the hell. Whew, and that's going to be it. Now, personal opinions, I actually do really like the opening. It's actually pretty interesting because when looking at this opening, I didn't really think of it as like a traditional JoJo one. I thought that this was going about like some type of, it was like a mix of anime opening, like just like in quotes, like just anime opening, and then a JoJo opening mixed in with that because of certain shots that they had, like Bruno and how he was reacting towards everything, and it was really interesting to me, at least. The song itself, I personally really like it, but at the same time, I'm like just a stan for JoJo in general. But where I would rank it, I'm not really sure. I personally really do enjoy it, but I'm probably going to have to sit with it for a bit more to fully invest into it, and probably have to wait a couple of weeks and all that. Get adjusted to the episodes, and I'll pretty much see there. The ending, I think that I'll have a video aside for that too, because there's some stuff that could be gone over that, but I just don't have that set up at the moment right now. But yeah, I have more videos planned over like next time and all that. Recently I've been streaming Phoenix Wright, so y'all can go ahead and head out to my streams when they're happening or whatever the hell. I'm trying to set a schedule, but I have no clue what I'm doing. I also want to get a bunch of images of me as Phoenix Wright, so I have something to put up on my stream layout. But I don't know if people do that, you know, like just send it to me on Twitter. That'd be cool. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. The next one's going to be a very interesting video. Until then, it's actually like a re-emergence of a series that I don't do as often. But yeah, thank you all for watching again, because I messed up and I didn't know what I was placing as. Until next time, till the next one, the fuck? Peace out and Godspeed.